Hi, Jan here. Thanks for coming back. First of all, I just wanted to let you know ahead of time, this is going to be a little bit like the last video, really, a bit bitty, because I'm sort of touching on different projects and I want to put them all on one video. Regular viewers may or may not remember that I put together a quilt and a pillow that I made from my youngest granddaughter's clothing that my daughter gave me, and because I'd already done nice quilts, really nice padded quilts for her sisters, the twins, I thought it's only fair that she have one as well. So that's where we were going with it. My daughter, I said, find the clothes, and so she saved all these clothes and she'd give them to me. And yeah, so basically I made, and I think I put this in another video, I made a patchwork quilt, whereas the twins quilt was probably all squares and like a normal, what I would call a normal quilt. This is more patchwork, and I used a sheet, a plain white sheet, and then just piled all the pieces on, zigzagged them all together, and I absolutely loved it. And I just feel like it's just such a cheap way of getting a piece of fabric to make something. And yeah, once I've sort of zigzagged all these pieces on, and it can be so random, but it makes it just so colourful, and it's nice to, if you can get a theme of colours like here, because obviously Remy's a little girl, there's lots of themes on pink and red tones, so yeah, but it really doesn't matter, you can just mix whatever you want. And in some ways, having a piece of clothing like that is so much easier to wear, isn't it? Because you can wear it with anything, because there's so many colours in it, especially jeans or white things, or even navy. You think just things like that, it just seems to go well together. So yeah, so I have to say, it took me a long while to get that done, but I really enjoyed it. And I'd got something in the back of my mind that I wanted to make, and it was a Hendrix hare. Some of you may have seen the pattern for that or seen one. And I'd seen it and thought, that's what I'm going to make her. And that it stands about this high. It's quite tall. So I put this fabric together to make that. And I thought, I must have enough now. So I got the pattern, because what I did, I've got this, it's a PDF pattern, it's all folded up in there. And I got the pattern, laid it all out on here, and I had plenty. I was more than happy, because I'd got to find some more scraps to make some more. So once I realised I'd obviously got enough, I pinned it all on, cut it all out, and I thought, right, now I need to look at the video. I knew there were some videos on there. I need to look at a video to see how to put it together. This was an awakening. That is when I got on there and realised that initially if I was actually following exactly what the lady does, I would make like a calico or cotton form, which would be the long body and the head. That is what you initially make, and then stuff all of that, and then all your pieces of fabric then get sewn on to that form. And I was like, what? It wasn't what I was planning. So, me being me, any regulars will know I don't tend to follow things rigidly. I do go off on a tangent and do my own thing. I just thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and do the way I want it. I'm using the pattern, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Watching her, she'd got wire. She was using wire to, like, there's a piece of wire that went up that was covered in fabric inside the hare that would make him sit upright. I thought, do I want that? Wasn't sure. I've got to think again about that. But I do want some wire for his ears, because obviously a hare's ears are very long, and I want it to come up and sort of curl over, if you can imagine that. So I'm pausing at the moment to to try and find some wire. But what I've done so far is I've cut all the pieces out, and I've actually sewn all the bits together. And then I had another awakening, because I remembered that what I decided was, because it's quite floppy fabric, that I would interface it. I'd get some iron-on interfacing, and once all the pieces were cut out, I would then cut out the interfacing. But I got carried away. I go off on doing what I want, and I'd stitched all the pieces together. They're all already together. So then I thought, well, I really do not want to sit and unpick all of this. You can imagine. I'm just going to use these shapes, and I'm going to lay these pattern pieces on the interfacing on one side, align it on, and then turn it over, and then do it again. And in fact, it might be tidier, you know, because I've got all these threads everywhere where I've zigzagged all the pieces together. So that's the next plan, is to get that. I've got wire to get, and I've got iron-on interfacing to get. And also, when I was cutting this out, and one thing it's worth remembering, when you do this, it's all nice and solid when it's in one big piece like this. But obviously, when you start cutting out pieces, you're cutting then out, and then you've got, like, I don't know if I've got a piece here to show you, like there. So now I've cut across there. It's all zigzags on the outside, so it was secure. Now I've cut across it, I've obviously got an opening. So then once I got all the pieces cut, rather than it start gaping and everything, I then went round the whole thing, each piece, with a zigzag to secure it. And what I did initially with the whole lump, to hold it together, I went round with my serger all around the edge as well, which obviously afterwards is irrelevant, but I like to make it tidy while I'm working with it. So yeah, so every piece was then zigzagged on. I've been having a whale of a time on my stitching. So yeah, so that's going to wait there. And the next thing I've got to think about, actually, I've got to get the wire, as I say, and I've got to get the interface in. And because that is stuffed in a different way to what I'm doing, I'm thinking, to make it sit up, do I actually really need the wire in the body? Not sure. What I was thinking of was maybe having a big bag of rice in his bottom, so that, and I'll have to make a circular bit for him to sit on. So a bag of rice there, so he sits solidly. And then I thought, do I really need that? I mean, I've got a bag full of fabric scraps, as any regulars will know. I've got lots of fabric scraps that are excellent for stuffing, because then you feel like you're using absolutely everything. All by a few threads, but then quite often my threads are in the same bag. I think last year I made a puff, if I'm allowed to say that, or a footstool. That was stuffed with that. And when you use fabric, when it's all compact in, it's very heavy. So I thought, if I at least stuff at least half of this with the fabrics, it'll be pretty heavy. So I think I'm going to go down that road, possibly. Wait, I might change my mind. But yeah, and then maybe use normal stuff in for the rest of it. It needs to be fairly solid, because I've got to then stitch the arms and legs on afterwards. Now, it's something I've never done. Actually, maybe I'll stuff the limbs and the ears and stitch them on before I stuff it. Because then I can get inside. I like the idea of that. So watch this space. What I'm going to talk about while I'm here with you now, I'm going to show you another project. I've always got a project in mind, but I was watching a young lady today. She looks about 10. Can you imagine? I'm in my 60s watching these young girls on there doing their sewing. She looks about 10. She's probably not. She can't even, I don't think she'd be allowed to do a YouTube video if she was, so. But her and another young lady I saw yesterday that are coming up with some really good ideas. I have to be careful, because for my age I need to be careful I don't get carried away and make something that would look great on her, but me again, a mature woman, I don't want to look silly. I know there's lots of people that would say it doesn't matter, you wear what you want to wear, but I don't want to put it on and then think, why did I do that? You know, or people looking at me thinking, who does she think she is? Anyway, I'm now going to show you, or give you an idea of what the plan is. And it may be the next video, or it may be within this video. Okay, as you can see on Donna, I've got a men's shirt. This is another one I've had for quite a while. It's a lovely sort of deep pink, really. Now my plan is, I'm going to try and show you and hold the phone at the same time. I want to cut the neck there, so do away with the collar, and then I'm going to possibly get rid of the pocket. Depends, it might be handy. And then I'm going to cut about on the waist there, and then I want to add a frill, make it a frilly bottom. Now I'm not sure, if I had a much bigger shirt there might have been definitely enough fabric, but if there's not enough, then I'll find another fabric that I might be able to use with it. And then also the sleeves, I'm hoping to cut them off at the elbow, and I might even add a little panel in just to make it more of a puff sleeve. But yeah, it's going to be one of these working in progress. Yeah, so for now that's it. I'm going to do some more editing. For those of you that watch sFRANCE know that I've been doing some interviews with people, and I've just done another one. So I've done part 1 and now I'm going to do part 2. So look out for that if you fancy looking. As you can see up there, I've cut the collar, the sleeves and the bottom off in preparation for the rest. That just shows you it from the back. Looks quite nice as a crop top, I think. You'll see here I didn't have enough fabric in the shirt to make a frill, so I found a lacy tablecloth and I used that, which was a bit complicated, as I'll tell you in a minute. I made my own bias tape. I measured it 4 inches deep after I'd measured around the neck, obviously. And then, as you'll see in the next picture, I folded it in 4, as you do with bias. And then in the next picture you'll see that I then attached it to the neck edge and pinned it on. And once I'd pinned it on and it was in place, I then tacked it on just to make it easier for going under the machine. Once you can see here, I did machine it, but the tension was wrong. I didn't think it was, obviously, when I started, so I had to unpick the whole lot and start again on a bit of scrap. Hello. Okay, so as you can see from the pictures, I've continued with the man's shirt and I've converted it to my liking, as I say, as you can see in the pictures. I'm quite happy with what I've done. I think I've got to a point where I don't really want to do much more with it now, so I thought I'd end the video here and show you. This is what I've ended up with. I'm going to go hide myself now. As I said, I've used a lacy tablecloth for the bottom, and there was panels on that tablecloth of squares all the way around, so that enabled me to cut in between the squares to get a straight line. And obviously then I made use of the edging of the tablecloth, and I didn't have to do anything with that then. Also at the front, that's the edge of the tablecloth, so it meant I had two let me just show you, you can just about see, I had two sort of rounded edges to end or to finish the front off. It was a little bit fiddly with the tablecloth when it came to gathering it, because what I did I did one length plus another half, and then I had to, because I wanted to gather it, I didn't want it to just hang flat. Should I have done that or not? I don't know. Another time I'll try and do it without the gather and see how that looks. But this, I'm quite happy with this, because if it, but I think it'd have been too much if I'd have doubled. There would have been too much gather for the thickness of the lace. So I had to then, obviously, you know how to do a pleat. I'll just quickly talk to you about that. To do a pleat, you obviously need to do that. So then you got your pleat. And then you stitch across the top. Well, that part was a little bit fiddly, being laces full of holes. So what I've done, before I did that, I actually used my serger, and I serged the whole edge so that it made it a little bit more secure, a bit more sturdy, and then that gave me an edge to work with to do the pleats. So, because obviously I've got the serge stitching on the edge, and then I just used the top, folded it over, and then I thought, well, I can't just secure this with pins, so I tacked, as I always tell everybody to do, and then I don't do it myself. I tacked, but in a slightly different way, and I went through, because you've got 1, 2, 3 layers with a pleat, so I went through all 3 layers to make sure all the top edge stayed together and none of it dropped, because otherwise when it come to me stitching it, I'll end up with it all up and down. So I managed to do that all the way around, and that gave me a good idea of how it was going to look when it was finished. So yeah, that came out okay as well. So I stitched all the way around, and it doesn't look too untidy on the inside either, because I'd serged it, I think. So I was pleased with that. And I'm just sitting here looking at it thinking I might go around again just to make sure, because you can imagine having a lacy bottom to it, I'm bound to get it caught on a door handle or something, and it's going to pull it. So I need it to be secure on the actual shirt part to make sure it doesn't come away. Not to say the lace might not rip, but that's not going to happen, is it? So yeah, I mean, and the neck, I was really pleased how that went. I made my own binding, obviously, out of the shirt for that. It's not laying as flat as I'd like, but I haven't yet pressed it, which again is going against my principles, because I like to press as I go. But I was getting too impatient to see it at the end. So I'm going to press it now, and I'm sure that's going to look a lot better. Other than that, there's not much more I can do with it. Oh, I was going to put lace on here. I think I said at the beginning of the video I was going to lace these as well, but looking at the depth of the panel of lace, and I couldn't really use half of it. It would look a bit strange, I think. I did think about just using the edging of the tablecloth on it. Let's have a quick look now. It's possible, but I don't know. I don't want it too flouncy, too over the top. So I think I'll leave it at that for now. If when I start wearing it, I might think, oh, maybe you could have some more lace on it. But at the moment, I'm leaving it at that. I had to take, no, I didn't have to. I decided to remove the pocket that was there. It didn't sort of fit in with the vibe of the blouse, so I removed that very carefully. I've obviously got the lines and the holes there from where where the stitching was, and sometimes if you go over it with a rubber or something, you can sort of close those holes up. So I'm hoping that'll happen. If not, I might have to think of something else, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So, and it also, when it goes in the wash, those holes might just disappear then as well. So yeah, overall, I'm pleased with that. Just going to edit this video now and get that up as soon as I can. Let me know what you think of the blouse, a shirt that's become a blouse. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you've done anything similar, and maybe send me some photos. yeah, I did have totally different idea with this shirt ages ago. It's been rolled up in my to-do box for ages, and I had a little picture on it, and I was going to make, I can show you it, I was going to use the top, I don't know if you can see, as the top, and then I was going to use another fabric for the bottom and make a dress. But I saw this being done by a young girl on another channel that I've just discovered, a young Australian girl, and she's so enthusiastic. It's really a pleasure to watch, and I thought, that's an idea, so that's what I've done. So I will see you in the next video, whenever that may be, and happy sewing.
Hold up, I haven't finished yet. I've got to show you this other project. I decided to use some the cuffs basically off a man's shirt, because they're the sort of things you never quite know what to do with. There's lots of things now, reels on Instagram and Pinterest and that, what to do with them. And I decided to make a soap pouch for soap bars and shampoo bars. And for the inside, I'm using a shower curtain, as you've seen me use before. It's quite simple and easy to work with. I had some scraps, and there it is, pinned onto the scrap, ready for me to cut around. I did realise after I'd cut it out that I was going to be making a seam up the middle, so the actual piece of shower curtain was a bit too big, but better than being too small. Then when it came to it, I also see the actual straight edge of the cuffs was obviously a bit rough, where it had been cut away from the shirt, so I tucked that in and made it tidy with some zigzag stitch on the edge. And then I decided in the next, you can see here that I used an embroidery stitch to go up the middle and embroider in the ditch, just to make it a bit stronger. That shows you how big the shower curtain was on the back of it, so I had to trim that off afterwards. The tension's never quite right on the shower curtain. I don't know if that's me or whether it's just because of the two different fabrics, but it holds it in place fine, especially on a project like that. You see there, I left, once I turned it inside out, I'd left the end to do that, and then I was deciding, how am I going to secure this? So I found a nice ribbon that went with it, cut it long, just a bit longer than the actual project, so that it would wrap around it with a press stud on the end, and then press into it there. When I put this together, I folded the third of it up and then hand stitched the sides together. So stitching and tension's not great on it, but it serves its purpose. That's the final bit, quite neat. I left the ribbon long enough because once the soap's inside, it's obviously going to make the pouch itself a bit fatter. Then you can see that's where it's wrapped round and then press studded on to hold it shut. Now here I've decided to show you, they're the bits to the hare, so look out for the next video when hopefully I will be putting it together. See you then.